C'est un moment important, je pense, dans l'histoire du team. Le fait de le recruter pour la communauté Winamax, je pense que c'est aussi quelque chose qui va être marquant.
To me, Team Winamax actually has the best team that I see around the world. I feel like I'm ready to jump back in to the swing of things, and no better way to do it with Team Winamax. Hopefully I can create some surprises and beat all the no limit hold'em specialists. Bonjour. Bonjour. Ça va?
Au sein du team, je suis convaincu que l'intégration va être très fluide. Voilà, Gus, il apporte une autre manière de réfléchir, une autre perspective, toute son expérience et tout un tas de choses qu'il a pu accomplir. Et voilà, je pense que ça va être riche dans les deux sens. Il va apporter ça au groupe. Je suis assez optimiste. Je pense que ça va être une belle aventure. Ouais.
So we never thought we would say those words, but here we are. Gus Hansen, welcome to Winamax.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
The announcement, Gus Hansen joining Team Winamax, might come as a surprise to people in the community, but from what I understand, it came off quite naturally and easily. Can you tell us about what happened behind the scenes?
Well, in charge of Team Winamax Pro is Stéphane Mathieu. He's a longtime friend. We met back in Vegas more than 20 years ago. He was a very good tennis player. I like to play tennis, not at his level, but can still hit the ball. And we quickly became friends. And he got drawn a little bit into the poker world, where I've been residing for many, many years. And we always talked about the possibility of maybe working together. Could there be something there? So it's always been kind of like hiding under the surface. Obviously, for many years now, he's been with Team Winamax, and I've been a little bit hiding. I've gotten a son and this and that, but then started getting back into the poker swing of things. And in December, I went to Vegas, played a tournament. Team Winamax was there, and we started kind of rediscovering that old idea that's been hiding. And we actually thought, hey, this might be the right time to actually do it. And it just seemed like all the pieces were kind of fitting together. The puzzle was kind of completing, and here we are today.
What do you know already about Winamax? Like, what are your feelings about the brand, about the team, your existing feelings?
Well, to me, it seems like Team Winamax actually has the best team that I see around the world. The players, very, very strong players. Them working together, it feels like a team where maybe some other time I obviously have been with another site back in the Full Tilt days. It was Team Full Tilt Pro, but it was more individuals put together as a team, but it was still individuals. Here I feel it's like a team. They're working together, they're sparring together, they talk about ideas, which is very important to develop your game at the poker table. So it feels like a team, it feels like a community. So I'm actually happy that I can join what I consider the best team in poker.
Let's talk about expectations. What do you think you can bring to Winamax, and what are you expecting from Winamax in the coming months?
Well, to me, it's actually very exciting to jump back into the water, because like I said, I've been a little bit outside. I'm still playing poker, but kind of low key. So it's very exciting to get back into the swing of things. I played my first tournament in 4 years last December. And even though I didn't have a very good result, I felt like there's something there that I haven't kind of looked into for a lot of years, where it's just strictly been playing cash games. So that side of things, I think I can learn a lot from some of the players on Team Winamax. I think I also can bring something, because I still have some nicknames like the Crazy Dane and stuff like that. I think in a different way. I don't go the regular route down Avenue A. I usually try the F and the G and the Z and all those kind of things. So I think differently. I think I make people think, look from a different perspective, and I can learn some basic things maybe from some of the top players in the team. And as I said, there's a lot of top players in that team.
I also think there's a secret reason. You love playing racket sports, all kind of racket sports, and right now pretty much everybody in Team Winamax is crazy about paddle. And I was thinking the secret reason that you want to join the team to beat all of those guys and make them remember you're the best at it.
Yeah, well, I do love paddle. I do love racket sports. Like said, Stefan and I are old friends, came from tennis. Since then, we've also played squash against each other. We've played paddle with each other. And that is the new black. That is within racket sports. That's paddle, and everybody on the team plays. I play a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see who takes the top spot in the paddle ranking on Team Winamax.
Right. Looking forward to that. Let's talk about your career, if that's okay with you. I have a few questions about how you came up in the poker ranks. When you first made a name for yourself, early 2000, right away you made a difference with your style of play. You were very aggressive for the time, and your style of play allowed you to get quick results. And actually, we looked, your first 10 recorded live results have 5 final tables and 3 victories, which is, I think it's crazy. Do you consider yourself a precursor of what No Limit Hold'em ended up becoming, a game with less pre-flop limping, more aggression, and wider ranges?
I think I definitely played a role in the development. I actually credit another friend of mine, Huck Seed. He won the World Championship, I think it was in '96. That was the first year I played the World Series, a main event. There was 301 players, and I think ranking-wise, I might have been 301. I had absolutely no chance, no clue what was going on. But luckily, I had 10% of Huck Seed, who ended up winning the tournament. And I got knocked out on day 1, which was only fair, and I spent the rest of the tournament on the sideline watching Huck Seed. And that actually gave me a lot of ideas from, okay, that's a way to proceed. Okay, you can also do that. And learned a lot. And I think from that on, that was the first time I was kind of watching poker, trying to see, okay, does that work for me? Does that not work for me? How? And I kind of developed on that, and that kind of became my playing style. So part of it actually comes from Huck Seed, because he played that very aggressive, that tournament when he won the World Series. So I started doing that, started seeing things in a different light and saying, oh, hey, if they decide to fold every time when I open in first position, I'm going to open in first position. Not too often, so they know, so they're aware of it, but again, so things like that. And obviously, the fact that back in 2002, 3, 4, 5, it became a TV sport, a TV mind game. So people looked at it in this. So obviously, since I was, should we say, a star back in those days, then people kind of look, okay, he won a tournament. He won another tournament. Let's look, what is he doing? Okay, he's doing crazy stuff. Let's do crazy stuff. And then obviously, throughout the time, I think in 2008, I wasn't even aggressive anymore. People were so insanely aggressive. And then with the computer learning and so on, people kind of found a place. So I think I was in the beginning kind of making people aware you don't need an ace-king to play in No Limit Hold'em. You can also play different holdings.
But let's talk about that label people stuck on you, crazy gambling maniac, let's say. It was hard to remove this label, right? And did you have to suffer consequences from that image you created?
That image is still going very, very strong. I think there's a saying in English, first impressions last. Sadly, and I think that's very true. In many cases, it is actually true. And in many cases, people are just stuck on that idea. I think it actually, after I wrote the book from the Aussie Millions tournament, Chaque main révélée in French, I would sit at the table at a poker tournament, and they would, no matter who was there, nobody would ever think I had a hand better than 7-5 offsuit.
Because all of those people had read the book.
Not all of them, but it was just a general, maybe from TV, maybe from reading the book, nobody would ever think I had anything. So I actually had to completely change, because if they're calling all the time, why not play tight? So I actually started a trend. Every time I sat down at a tournament, I would sit down at the table and say, well, I just want you to know I'm the tightest player at the table. Everybody would laugh and say, okay, he's still insanely crazy. And I was the tightest player at the table, but they didn't care. They still treated me like I could never have a hand.
So are you repeating this announcement right on camera? Guys, in the next few months, I'm going to be the tightest player at the table?
Every tournament I sit down, I'm still going to say it. Whether I'm going to stick to that or I'm going to change forth and back, we'll see about that.
All right. You mentioned you've been away from the poker scene for a few years. Your last recorded live result goes back to 2019, and then before that it was 2014. We know you kept on playing some cash games once in a while, like Bobby's Room during the World Series. But basically, you've been away from the spotlight. Can you tell us how's your life been since then?
Well, I know from 14 to 19, where I've recorded just about 0 results. I've been in Vegas for the World Series of Poker every year. But mainly playing the cash game. It's probably been like 50-50 whether I played the main event, whether I didn't play, 50-50 whether I played the 50K Players Championship, and that would be it. 1 to 2 tournaments a year. So you're not going to make a lot of results if you only enter 1 or 2 tournaments. But I've still been playing the cash games, etc. Then we had the 19, 20, 21, some crazy COVID things came about. So obviously that took a couple of years out of the traveling to tournament schedule. And also, like I moved back to Denmark after residing in Monaco for 18 years, have a little son. So just a different perspective on life, getting a little bit older. That's what happens. And just, a different outlook upon things. But my entire adult life, I've been a backgammon player, I've been a poker player, I've been a gambler, and I'm gonna continue being a gambler till the day I die. It's part of me. So I've stayed in the loop, but a little bit hidden away. So that's basically it, and now I feel like I'm ready to jump back in to the swing of things, and no better way to do it with Team Winamax.
Tell us what your schedule is going to be like roughly in the next few months.
I'm basically planning to enter the tournament scene again. Again, I think also it's going to bring something different to it. Traveling together with a team, like sparring with different players. I know a lot of the players from the team, but I've never kind of discussed poker hands. I think that's going to be very beneficial for me.
I'm sure they're going to be very excited.
At first, I think it's probably going to be more beneficial for me, because they're used to the team environment, where it's kind of a new thing for me, because I've always been traveling on my own. So that's going to be exciting. There's tournaments coming up. It's going to be mainly Europe, US. There's EPTs. There's EPT in my old hometown of
Monte Carlo,
Monaco. There's some Winamax events that I'm obviously going to be.
So we're seeing you in Marrakesh for the Sismix.
Definitely in Marrakesh for the Sismix.
It's not high roller, but it's high fun.
Yes,
let me tell you.
And one should not forget the fun.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting. The World Series of Poker and what the fall and the winter will bring. There's definitely also going to be some tournaments. You just had a very exciting event in Paris like 1-2 months ago.
Yeah.
That unfortunately I couldn't join. I had some personal stuff to take care of, but I think next year that's definitely going to be on my calendar. So we'll see. Definitely more tournaments. Hopefully more finishes that you can talk about or write about than 0 from 14 to 19.
Okay, so let's be real here. How do you evaluate yourself versus today's competition? The newest generation of players, with a lot of them being focused on GTO, it's like an idea that didn't exist when you made a splash in the poker world. How do you evaluate yourself against those kind of players?
Very interesting, because also some discussions with Stefan about how do we approach that? Which tournaments would be interesting for you to play? And obviously we have a community where I would say like the top layer of no limit hold'em tournament players reside. They play the 25Ks, they play the 50Ks, they play the high rolls, and they do it all the time. I'm absolutely certain that the top no limit players are today in 2024 are way, way better than any players was in 2014, 2009, 2004, etc. Because computer is an incredible tool. They study it way more. So they are for sure better at no limit hold'em than I am. There's no doubt. I would like to think that I could throw some curveballs that catch them off guard, but on a whole, they're better. I like to play against all those guys in Stud, Omaha, Erebet, and a lot of other poker games, because usually when I play cash games, it's mixed games. Mm-hmm. I like the different sports, the triple draw, the pot limit Omaha, etc., etc. There's many games. So if you take guys who really work hard at one game, because there's many games in poker, then they're going to be very good. They're going to excel at that game. And I have not studied no limit hold'em as they have. So there's absolutely certain that they're better than me. I have studied a little bit more of the mixed game. So I'm good at this game. 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 But they're great at no limit hold'em. Mm-hmm. So that's tough. And I think of me the next year, I'm going to play a lot of main events with a whole bunch of guys, girls, some of them the top guys that I think I can fight against in a big field. So hopefully I can create some surprises and beat all the no limit hold'em specialists.
I want to touch about the good old days of the nosebleed era on Full Tilt. Back there was a time where the biggest cash games happened 24/7 on Full Tilt Poker, and you were one of the main agitators on those tables. Some of the guys playing those tables consider you a good customer.
Yes.
Is there any truth to that?
Obviously, there's a thing, again, math usually don't lie. And math can lie in a short sample size. If you have a large sample size, usually you get lucky, I get lucky, Stefan gets lucky. But in the long run, we both, all of us get lucky, get unlucky, so it evens out. So if you take my results online, they are, I think the best word is horrible. So in that sense, there's definitely truth to it. I will say it has never really been my environment. The online, I've done it a lot. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot. The results is out there. There's no secrets to that. It seems like the speed of the internet contra the live settings where you play one table, you're much more focused. You can actually watch your opponents, how they act, etc. That's more my setting than sitting in front of the computer and just pushing buttons, which in a lot of cases I've done, and you cannot play against the best players in the world just pushing buttons. Play too long hours, where you play against guys who's played 2-3 hours and are super fresh. So I've done a lot of silly things, playing online, not being competitive in the way I feel I am in live settings. The good news about me losing a lot online is that you have to have the money from somewhere, and I have it from live. So I have, throughout the years, some very, very good results from live games. Yes. Unfortunately, I've had some really bad results online, but I'm still around. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Some of the best players from that era, they're not around anymore. Like, how do you explain that? Like, what's the key for you for longevity? Is it like taking a break, like you did, and focusing on something else, or taking a step back?
Well, I think again, I wouldn't call myself a Darwinist, but again, survival of the fittest, etc. And who's still around? Phil Ivey is still around. He is considered by many, also by me. When he played his top game, I think he was one of the toughest players, the toughest player. Daniel Negreanu is still around. So there's definitely players. Patrick Antonius is still around. So some of them has disappeared into the darkness, and where they are, I hope they're happy with whatever they're doing. But there's still some around, and I think again it's the way it works. There's been some development. If you haven't studied with the computer, if you haven't taken time to study with Team Winamax, etc., ways to improve your skills, because if you don't, you're just going to stay there and slowly decline. And poker is a competitive world. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of money at stakes. You can make a good living as a winning poker player. You can lose a lot of money as a losing poker player. So there's a lot of people bidding for the top spots. And if you don't follow the development, somebody else is going to take over who's younger, stronger, fitter, etc.
2024's Gus Hansen, what advice would he give to 2005 Gus Hansen or 2007 Gus Hansen?
Oh, don't play so much online. I mean, what? What I think, many different advice I could give to a younger self, but I think that's the case for everybody. You get older, sometimes you get wiser. You definitely have a different outlook on life. I think my best advice to a 2005 Gus Hansen is sometimes take a step back, try to look at the poker world, the world you're in, from an outside more objectively, because it's very hard when you're in the midst of things. Then you're more subjectively watching what's going on. But if you take a step back, sometimes a step back, you kind of take the fast decisions out of the loop. You take your time, etc. I think I would have made more wise decisions had I sometimes just slowed down and said, okay, let's take a week, a month off where we do something else, and just try in that time, think, okay, what's your approach to this? What's your approach to that? So I think as a whole, if I had one advice, that's what I would say.
Obviously, you were one of the biggest, most known stars of what was called the poker boom, when poker became crazy in the entire world. Do you have any nostalgia for that era? And are you maybe ready to become like a poker star again on Winamax scale and with Winamax community?
Well, it's always fun to be a star. It's always fun to do well in tournaments. It's always fun to do well in your profession, and poker is my profession. So obviously I have some fond memories of back in 2004, 5, winning tournaments. But also one thing I have noticed, I haven't followed so many tournaments, I haven't played so many tournaments lately. I'd like the atmosphere back then a little bit better. It was a little more joking. You were actually allowed to talk at the table. You're still allowed to talk at the table, but sometimes I feel you have 8 statues sitting at the table. There's no signs of life other than when they look at their cards and maybe push out some chips. I think it's a little bit more of a spectator sport when you actually have, obviously you have one of the old icons, which is still an icon, Daniel Negreanu, who still does some talking at the table, but obviously the talking is more fun when somebody talks back at you, or at least there's a conversation going. So I miss that a little bit when I occasionally watch some poker, but then again, it's 2024, I'm back here with Team Winamax. I can do all the talking.
We're gonna finish off with a few selected stories that you are famous for, but maybe we would also like to know whether they are like completely true or maybe a bit fabricated, you know?
Okay.
Like one of our favorites, it goes back to 2007. Apparently, you decided not to show up for day 2 of a high roller at the EPT Monte Carlo because you were too busy playing backgammon for huge amount of money, 7 figures. Any truth to that? Can you elaborate?
That is 100% true.
All right.
We had a game. I think it was a 25K buy-in starting on Thursday. I had a so-so day 1. I survived. I had a double starting stack, which was a small stack, but still equivalent to a 50,000 buy-in. But I was in a very big backgammon game with a Russian player. And let's just say things were going my way. So I had a decision whether to continue, which was at the moment very lucrative, and forfeit my my 50,000
Yes.
in the tournament, or stop the game and go to the tournament. And it seemed like a pretty easy decision. If you look at strictly on money, it was an easy decision to stay in that game. So it was one of my good decisions.
Okay, all right.
So
it ended
that
up
is
well.
100% true.
Okay. 2007 again, you won the OC Millions, and obviously everybody noticed you were talking to a tape recorder between hands, and doing this provided you the material to write your best-selling book, Every Hand Revealed. What we would like to know is, did you have to use the tape recorder for like 10 tournaments in a row that you blanked, or did you get lucky on that very first OC Millions? What was the process?
It's a good story if I got lucky on the first one. I'm pretty sure because I like numbers. I like to count here, there, everywhere. I see numbers. And that was my 8th tournament. I think I started out the year before, or I know I started out the year before in the World Series, played a couple of tournaments, played some WPTs in the fall, and then the Aussie Millions. So I'm quite certain it was the 8th try, but considering that most of the fields are 600, 700, 800 players, 1 in 8 is not bad at all.
It is not bad at all. You might have heard of that show Winamax is producing, Inside the Mind of a Pro. We mentioned it. We could consider your book the precursor, like in a literary way, to what the show is doing. Is that something you would be interested in taking part in your future?
Obviously, I have discussed Dans la Tête some which is the series, which is the live version of the same idea that originally came from the book. So obviously that's a very interesting idea, and I would love to be part of it. I would definitely love the fact that if we do Dans la tête Gus Hansen, that I would win the 8th tournament that I play. I think that would be a very good deal. I'll take that deal right away.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Gus.